myself again.
Good evening again from me and NUFC Manners. It's Steve Wraith and it's ladies' night, back to its original Monday night because Newcastle have kindly decided to play on Tuesday. So we're joined tonight by Alicia, Sav and Kendall. Good evening, girls. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Let's get the worst part of the show out of the way first, and that's looking back at the weekend's game, Alicia. What a car crash that was, wasn't it? And I think we've heard it from everybody on Matchday Live. We've heard a little bit on the rant show that's just taken place. You know, most people even expect it now. They're not even expecting a Newcastle win or a result. They're expecting to get beat.
Yeah, like that was my hope for the chance of us getting 3 points until we play West Brom in like March. I have no hope that we're going to win any other game. And I was like, you know what, Villa, they've got a mistake in them. We can do something. I think tomorrow we could end up getting battered again. I cannot see us getting a win. I've predicted a draw, but in my heart of hearts, I know that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, why did we get it so wrong against Villa?
I don't know, it changed again. We had the 3-5-2 kind of going on. Isaac Hayden ended up back at centre-back again. I feel like he just doesn't know what to do with this group of players. Like, every week it's changing. So, I don't know, the Andy Carroll-Wilson combination, then it's somebody else. It's like always chopping and changing. On paper, it looks a bit more positive, but on the pitch, I don't know what defensively he puts them through, considering in his playing career what he was like as a defender. How our team can manage it, I do not know. But I think the whole thing that's going wrong is just the defence week in, week out, every week. And then we kind of get the ball forward to Wilson. So it's the same old, same old.
Steve Bruce at the end of the game, Alicia, was encouraged. Mm-hmm. What do you think he was encouraged by?
I don't know. I don't know what he's been watching. I don't know if he was sitting watching something on his iPad at half-time or sitting watching the telly, but it wasn't that game because there was nothing to be encouraged by. I don't know where the delusion of this is coming from, and we keep saying it week in, week out. What is he seeing that nobody else is seeing? But yeah, it's us that gets called out for it, and it's us that are the bad people for saying that he's doing something wrong.
Yeah, okay. I don't think really we can say anything other than, you know, must do better. And, you know, we've got the Leeds game coming up tomorrow, so we'll touch on that a little bit later. Alicia, I do want to congratulate you. You've joined Kendall now in the four figures with your own channel. Over 1,000 subscribers now. Just give a shout out to your channel because I'm sure people will want to join your channel and Kendall's as well. So just give a little shout out to it, just to where people can find you and listen to your points of view on Newcastle United.
Yeah, so mine's just as it says on my name there, just my name and then FC. That's my YouTube thing. And if you could subscribe, we are on the road to 2K. So if you could do, that would be great. Thank you.
Good stuff. No problem. Kendall, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Just trying to, get the 3-year-old sorted and occupied. So.
That was good. We were all rather impressed with your avatar that you left. It was like, Kendall's not in. She's got her posh little sign and all that. So that was quite...
logo.
Your little logo, yeah. So Aston Villa, where did it all go wrong?
About year and a half ago. Look, we set up the same every week. It's no different. We go into a game expecting to lose now. Obviously, as soon as Shara and Dallo made a couple of mistakes for the first goal, it was kind of game over from that point. I'm actually surprised it was only 2. I really was expecting a couple more the way Aston Villa attack and stuff. But it was just awful. There was just no one who was trying apart from really Almiron. Callum Wilson doesn't get any service. If Shelby's not lumping the ball up to Andy Carroll, we've got no hope. Because not last game, the game before, obviously Shelby was having really serious issues getting past the first man and taking corners. It was better against Aston Villa, but it was just awful, really. And obviously we saw at the end of the game, Jamal Lewis was practically in tears. Jamal Lascelles was literally looked like he couldn't breathe. I don't know whether that's obviously the effects of COVID still, and he was literally blowing. Like, honestly, it was awful. And everyone just looked so dejected, and it was just horrible. And that just, to me, just tells you everything, to be honest. I mean, we've been saying for weeks that the dressing room has been lost by Bruce, and I think that just showed you everything, really. But now the next step is for one of the players, like when Lascelles came out the time before, like 3 years ago, and said, this club's not good enough, the players haven't been good enough. We need that again, because that was when we kind of overturned a little bit, and Rafa came and we kicked back on again. We need that now, because we need someone to step up and take responsibility, because the manager's not doing it. He's given every excuse under the sun. And what the hell he was encouraged by? I don't know, encouraged by what? The downfall of the Championship. Oh, I'm really encouraged that that's what we're going to do. It wasn't fluent progression. I can't even speak. It wasn't even encouraged like that was good. Honestly, I don't know what he was seeing in that at all. I really, really, truly don't. And I am dreading tomorrow. Dreading. And the fact that, obviously, we'll probably pick up on it later on in the show, but the fact that he's obviously banned written press at his press conference and stuff, just shows you. He said, I'm not one to shy away. Is that not what you're doing? Are you not shying away from the written press? Like, he's such a hypocrite. It's unbelievable. The rage he gives us, I just feel like irrational rage towards him now. I really, really do.
Yeah, it's certainly strange, Sav. It's a weird situation, it really is, and it's a one which is going to cause a great amount of concern amongst the fan base. But that game, we even heard Jack Grealish at one point on the pitch. It was picked up on the microphone what he thought of our team, and it wasn't very complimentary. It was an awful day at the office again.
It is a case of same dross, different day for us all the time at the moment. And I'm sorry, but Steve Bruce sits in these press conferences and he sometimes makes it sound like we're going to turn up with something different. And at times, like, that used to work. Like, everyone said he was like the luckiest manager in the Premier League because we would sneak a lucky win. It would be a real scrappy win, but we would sneak one. That luck has run out for him now. And now you're looking at players who look clearly dejected. How Lascelles, like Kendall was saying, how he was being played when he was clearly struggling to breathe at times. I couldn't understand why he was still on the pitch. I don't understand what management he's doing and how we're progressing in any single way. Since we're playing further up the pitch, arguably maybe a little bit, but not, we still fall straight back the first time they run at us because the confidence is so low, and then we'll sit further back again. It's painful to watch. I don't understand how, obviously, Frank Lampard's got sacked today and Steve Bruce is still sat in his job. I saw a report earlier saying that he's safe in there till the end of the season. Like, how can you make those sorts of decisions when we're on such a poor run of form? There's clearly something gone on. I don't think we're going to find out exactly what it is. But those, touching back on what Kendall said as well, at the end of that match, those players, they looked like we'd just lost a cup final. They looked shattered, and there's something not right there. I don't understand how he's still there, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither. We've got a question in for you all, so let's go with this. Peter's asked a question. Where do you see Lampard and Rafa ending up in their next jobs, Alicia?
Well, Lampard kind of nailed it at Derby, let's be honest. He'd done a good job. He proved his worth, but I think the Premier League's going to be too much of a jump of him yet. He spent £200 million at Chelsea. Arguably, by no means I'm saying it's completely harsh what Chelsea have done, considering you only lost 5 in this short spell. But I don't know if anybody could put that trust in him after Chelsea being kind of like the iconic link that he had. I thought that would have saved him some time. So I don't know if he might drop back into the Championship or kind of a mid-table, lower-table Premier League team. Rafa is apparently going to Celtic, is the rumours that I've been hearing. But I couldn't see him going to Scotland, surely. I mean, I know he dropped down to China, but Scotland's got to be even worse than that. So again, would he come? He wouldn't come back to Newcastle, I believe, at this moment in time. With Mike Ashley still here, we know the trust is gone between them two. I wouldn't expect him to be coming anywhere near us at the minute. If the takeover goes through, maybe there's a chance. There's been rumours about that Staveley's kind of eyeing him up. But again, probably, could Rafa go back to Chelsea? I don't know, because a lot of Chelsea fans do hate Rafa for some reason. I couldn't see him going back. I'll probably say again, like a mid-table Premier League side.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. A lot of people linking him with Newcastle. He is Staveley's first choice, I would say. But Staveley has to have the club along with PCP and the Rubens for that to happen. And at the moment, we are no further forward on that. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe it's a watching brief for Rafa. He's going to wait and see what happens. Be plenty teams that would have him. Big shout out to our sponsors, oldcoachhousedistillery.co.uk, the world's first alcohol-free distillery. Visit their website, enter the code OCHD to claim your introductory 10% discount and get the most out of your mindful dry January. And also a big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk, who make pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend and Newcastle. Also make our t-shirts, which you can get from newcastlelegends.com, and some fancy gifts that they've been doing. Some of the girls, some of the lads have featured, and you'll be able to see them on a regular basis on our social media posts. So a big shout out to all of the sponsors tonight. Yeah, same question to you then, Kendall. Where do you see Rafa and Lampard ending up in their next jobs?
As Alicia says, I think Chelsea was a little bit of a step up from Frank. Obviously, he's never going to turn the job down. It's his dream job. It's his club. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to turn it down. And the signings, if what I'm hearing is true, were actually out of his control. The sort of the hierarchy, sort of direct signings over him. Obviously, he'll have a say, but I think they have the last word because Lampard wanted to bring Rice back to the club, and obviously that hasn't happened. So whether or not he'll go to Celtic, which is the next. That's the next chat. I really don't know. I don't know where they're heading or what they're after at all. And obviously might see Lampard and Gerrard head to head in the SPL, which will be interesting. But I don't think Rafa will go to Celtic. I'm just hoping not. I've been told several times over the past 3 days that they'll not be able to afford his wages unless he takes a huge cut. So fingers crossed he's not going there. I can see him possibly going back to Spain, but because Valencia is struggling, and obviously that's his old club. Their manager's kind of on the brink at the moment. There's even teams like Barcelona who have, they got Ronald Koeman back in and they're not doing too great. Otherwise, he did say in the statement that he was focusing on his family, who I am aware live in Cheshire, I want to say, So he could possibly be coming back to England, hoping that there's a job comes up soon. Can't see him come back under Ashley as much as I would cry if he came back. Like, that would literally make my year if he came back. I can't see Ashley being big, big enough to put his tail between his legs and say, we're sorry, come back now because, we need you or whatever. And I can't see Rafa having such little respect for himself to go back under the circumstances that he left in previously. So unless there is a takeover on the horizon, as you say, I can't see him coming back to us. Arsenal seem to be sticking with Arteta. Chelsea are getting Tuchel, as far as I'm aware, meant to be confirmed by Wednesday. So I really don't know what's next for either of them, to be honest. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see where they go next. Yeah,
me too. Sav, where do you think they'll end up? Rafa and Lampard?
Do you know what? I don't have a clue. There's so many rumours that fly about. Someone sent me this letter from Celtic that's saying that Rafa was going there, but then obviously you don't know, if that's a legit letter or if someone's just mocked that up. Lampard, obviously I feel sorry for him. I've seen the Chelsea fans kicking off, and I'm like, you don't know the half of it. You want to be stuck with Steve Bruce, but I think he was out of his depth a little bit with the Chelsea job. I do feel he was being treated a bit unfairly. Maybe sort of championship sort of club. I'm not sure. Rafa, I agree with Alicia and Kendall. I don't think he's coming back to us all the time. We've still got Mike Ashley in charge, and if we get a takeover, I hope he comes back. But if he goes to another club in the meantime, I'm going to be booing. I'm going to be really sad because it's that little bit where you just hope that he will come back, and it's just it hasn't obviously materialised, and we're just stuck with Steve Bruce in charge. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not going to lie. I've seen so many rumours. I don't know what to believe.
Okay, Alicia, let's look at Graeme Jones coming into the club. Steve Bruce was asked about him at the end of the match. The cameras were in his face, the microphone was in his face, and he got asked about Graeme Jones, and he couldn't get out of there quick enough. He's clearly not very happy about it. We've had to pay compensation to get this guy in, to come in as Steve Bruce's number 2. Strange situation. What do you make of it?
Yeah, we love paying a bit of compensation out. Maybe put that to some players and it would be useful. But it's a strange one. I don't get it. Like, are we going for the other Geordie PR stunt again? I just don't get it. If Steve Bruce isn't good enough as head coach, then get rid of him. Don't then go and get another coach to help him. Like, if you're really that worried about it, just get rid of him, because Steve Bruce clearly is in his own mind of what he can see, and he's not going to have anybody else tell him what he needs to do, because he thinks he's right and he thinks what he says goes. And if he's doing it his way, how can somebody else come in and tell him what to do? I don't understand it, and I don't understand why we're paying so much compensation for it when he has God knows how many coaches already. I just do not get it.
Yeah, me neither. Kendall, it's a strange move. I mean, paying for him as well is strange. He's from the northeast. Is this a move to help Steve Bruce, or is it a move to try and get him to leave?
I just don't see the point. If you're going to pay compensation for a number 2, why not pay a compensation and get a number 1 who's going to bring the backroom staff? Like, do you know what I mean? It makes absolutely zero sense. Why are we paying compensation to a championship number 2? Like, when we could just get rid of everyone and just get a new manager. Like, it's just, it makes no sense to me at all. Our dugout's going to be like bloody sardines at this point. We're going to have 3 assistant managers and however many else. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous to me. I just don't get it at all. Like, I really, really, truly don't. He was meant to be, did he work with Martinez at Belgium or something?
Yeah, he was number 2 for Belgium.
And that's fair enough, but the quality in the Belgium team is unreal. We've like got nothing like that here. I don't get it. It's baffling. I really don't know whether it's another sort of Andy Carroll, Steve Bruce-esque move where they're trying to bring Geordie's back to the club and hope that we get on board with it and think, oh, Geordie's back at the club. Like, but I just really don't see the point in it at all. What Steve Agnew going to do is he's going to be number 3. Like, it's absolutely bizarre. It is the totally weirdest thing that they could have done. Like, why not just pay Steve Bruce out? Like, it'll be probably 1.5 mil, and then get a vacant manager to come in who you're not paying compensation towards for a club, taking it off them, and actually getting decency in, rather than paying Bournemouth to take their number 2 just to come and be our number 2 when we've already got a number 2. Like, just honestly, does someone explain to me the logic behind it? Because I just have none. I don't have a logical explanation for what's going on. I really don't.
No, me neither. It's a strange one, Sav, bringing somebody in at this stage in the season. As Kendall says, you would expect maybe a managerial change and, a new broom sweeps clean, you bring in new people. But to bring somebody into a setup which is clearly not working, and somebody with a CV which has relegation on it. He was a part of the Bournemouth team that went down. He accompanied Darren Moore into the Championship with West Brom. His CV... quite frankly, in the Premier League, isn't good reading.
Yeah, I can't make any sense behind it. I mean, like Kendall was saying, I don't understand why we can't just ship Steve Bruce off instead. I reckon Steve Bruce must have something on Mike Ashley or something to be holding on to that job. I don't understand any other way how he's managing to do it. And I mean, when you saw him in that press conference, he's obviously not pleased about it. Because he shut everyone down straight away. And then there was today, wasn't there, where he wouldn't have the written media in the press conference asking questions. And I just think there's more going on than what we all know about. Whether or not he's coming in so Steve Bruce can be shipped out. But then again, as I said, I read that article earlier that says that he's not going anywhere till the end of the season. So this is what I was on about with rumours. There's so much that flies around. You don't know what is real and what is not. And I think that's why we all get these little conspiracy theories going, that something, because you just question it. But I don't understand why that's happening and why we haven't just shipped Steve Bruce out the door. It's not working. Our run of form is shocking, and there's only one way we're going, and that's down. And nothing, I can't see that changing all the time he's in charge.
No, I mean, me neither. And you talk about the rumours that are flying round. I mean, it shows that it is quite easy. We've heard today, as you say, from Lee Ryder that Steve Bruce will be here at the end of the season. I mean, I haven't read that article, but is there any substance in that? Do we know? There's been no official statement from Lee Charnley, has there, to say that, Sav?
No, this is the thing, and this is what I always come back to, is the lack of communication from the club to the fans. There's just nothing. It's all cut off. We're all left guessing what's going on. We're reading these articles that are being put out that a lot of the time aren't right. But then when that's all you've got to go on, that's what you read, and that's what you sort of generally think in that direction. And it's just all squiff. There's a lot wrong with the club, and it's how it treats the fans, and it should change. But to say till Mike Ashley's gone, I don't think it's going to.
No, definitely not. Alicia, I mentioned on the rant show just a few minutes ago about the post that Tony Fisher had put out on Twitter, and just want to know your opinions on this. About protesting, obviously we're all stuck at home. We're currently on a lockdown across the UK. Rumours and stuff flying around about potentially people going to the ground on Tuesday night. I don't condone that. I don't think anybody should go to the ground and protest. I think it's ludicrous. It's a stupid suggestion. But he did talk about potentially those people who are following the official club Twitter to unfollow it. There's 1.6 million people around the world following Newcastle on Twitter. Is that going to make any difference? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think we should be looking at, having a pop at the club like we did at the Premier League, all those months ago?
Well, to Steve Bruce has make no difference because he just thinks we're all keyboard warriors anyway. So if we all unfollow him, then we don't exist. So to him, it's probably a good thing. Will it really affect Newcastle to make a change like that? I don't know. Because I feel like the feeling around the club is that there is no fans in the stadium. Therefore, it's just all hearsay. We don't actually see what's going on. They're quite blind to it. I feel like because there is no communication from the club to start with in general, we don't have the social media presence that other teams do. Like a lot of them, you see them having banter between other teams, like what you see in the German leagues and things like that. We don't have that social media presence, whereas I feel like if we had that kind of connection, it would work. But really, the only thing Newcastle put out is what Steve Bruce has been saying and videos from the players and things like that. There is no real connection between the fans and the club, so I don't feel like it would make too much of a difference, but it's the only thing we can do, so it is what it is.
Okay, Kendall, what's your take on that, on the ideas of protests? I mean, protests when we've got 52,000 there tend to fail and don't work, but is there any point in doing something like that?
Look, if you'll never try, you'll never know, will you? At the end of the day, we can't do anything else. Please don't go at the ground and make us look horrible in the media and stupid for not socially distancing and respecting lockdown rules. Please don't do that. Just try anything. Just try what you think is going to work. I don't think it'll work because at the end of the day, as Alicia said, Steve Bruce doesn't care. He thinks that we all hysteric, and we just make noise, as he said today. That we're just noise and keyboard warriors, and I don't think he actually realistically cares. He obviously sees the comments, he obviously has shown the comments and told what we say, and clearly that's not bothering him or Mike Ashley at this point, because all we're getting told is that they're going to support him either way. What I do understand the idea behind the social media blackout, but like realistically it's not really going to do anything because they don't really get anything from that. If they just get interaction, and most of it is negative anyway, so they're not going to turn the comments off. You know what I mean? It's just not going to be happening from a Premier League club. So I don't know. As I say, if you never try, you'll never know. Things could work, and there's no harm in doing it anyway. So just go for it if that's what people think.
Yeah. Okay, Sav, what's your take on the protest ideas?
Yeah, I don't agree with going to the ground. I think that's just silly, and that just reflects badly on us as a fan base if everyone turned up at the ground while we're in this lockdown. The social media thing, like Alicia said, if we unfollow, then they can't see us anymore. So maybe that's kind of a positive, because if you look at all their comments that they get on their posts, it's all just completely, ripping Steve Bruce to pieces. Even on ASM's, I was looking earlier, he tweeted something earlier, and it was just straight away with, getting at Steve Bruce. I don't agree with, really horrific trolling. I agree with getting your point across if you've got a point to make. But I just think that you think of all these 1.6 million followers the club has, I can't see enough people being able to black out on that and that message get around to make them massively notice that that's going on anyway. I mean, obviously you do what you feel inspired to do, but I just can't imagine them being bothered because the club doesn't really seem to care, what we think anyway, because Steve Bruce is still sat in his job tonight.
Okay, let's talk players, Alicia, and Newcastle have been linked, as we can see from the comment on the screen there, with Stoke City's midfielder Nick Powell. He's a 26-year-old midfielder. He's been doing quite well for Stoke City this season. Of course, their manager is Michael O'Neill, a former Newcastle player who I remember quite fondly. But he has scored a few goals this season. And I think he scored something like 7 goals this season. And creative player, 26-year-old. Is that the kind of player you'd like to see come in this transfer window, or are you just hoping that any player would do?
I can't be picky because we're not probably going to get anybody. But yet again, it's another Championship player. Our squad is just full of Championship players trying to tread water in the Premier League and trying to stay out in those bottom 3 places. And by doing that, all we're going to do is just create more problems for ourselves. If we get an established Premier League midfielder, that's all we want. Even on loan, I'll take it. But again, it's dropping into the Championship. You say they do well in the Championship, but Dwight Gale done brilliant in the Championship. Is he going to cut it in the Premier League? Is he going to cut it in this team that has no creativity to start with? Again, it's just chucking players in the deep end from the Championship. Is it going to work for the second half of the season? Probably not when we need it to work. For me, if it's the only player we're going to get in, of course I'm going to take it. But if I had a choice, I wouldn't be bringing in, again, Championship players.
Okay, Kendall, is it somebody who you'd be interested in, or are we building for the Championship?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We always moan anyway about shopping in the bargain bin of Championship teams and Championship teams' unwanted players and that. It just makes no sense to me. As Alicia said, I'm not going to moan if we're going to bring someone in. That's fair enough. If he's scored a few goals and he's creative, okay, fine, I'm not going to moan. But why can't we actually invest properly in the squad? Why do we have to get players on a short-term basis who aren't an investment? They're just an easy option or a cheap option. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But as I say, if that's the only person we're going to bring in, then fair enough. We need some new sort of exciting injection in there somewhere. Obviously, Premier League, that it's a big step up. And I think a lot of people they underestimate how big of a step up it is. Where, to be fair, not the football we're playing at the moment, that could fit nicely in League One. But yeah, if we're going to get him in, fair enough. I'm not going to moan, not going to slate the lad. That's just stupid and pointless. But I mean, it's not realistically where I'd start. But maybe this is I just keep pulling the positives and the conspiracies and hope. Even if I sound delusional, I'm just going to pull the positives from anything. Maybe they're just not wanting to invest because, his time's up soon and he doesn't want to invest too heavily when he has before with Steve Bruce and it hasn't worked out. So, I don't know.
Sav, is that the kind of player you want to see at Newcastle? What's your take on us being linked with him?
Do you know what? I agree. It does get to a point where you think I would take someone like him just to see if that changes anything within our squad. But the problem, I think, runs deeper than who you get in. We've got so much deadwood in that squad that needs to be moved on. I read something today where Steve Bruce has apparently said that Sean Longstaff hadn't featured at the weekend because it wasn't his turn to play. I don't understand that method. Why don't you just pick your best 11 and play them? Why are we taking it in turns? They're not kids. And I think that's another midfielder there's people that don't look interested in playing for us, now, like Shelby. He runs around like he's got 10-ton boots on. Like, he just doesn't move anymore. And, Sean Longstaff, he hasn't looked interested for a long time. I hate saying that, but obviously he's a local lad, and it's nice to see, them progress throughout the squad. I don't know if it's just the Steve Bruce curse and they're all just miserable and fed up and can't be asked, but they're still being paid to play. So you expect to see some effort in them. But yeah, it would be nice to see someone else, but I would just love to see some of them just moved on and maybe give us an opportunity at finding someone who's not just another championship level player, someone who's going to add a little bit of excitement to the squad rather than the same old type of player that we've seemed to go for.
Yeah, okay. Alicia, War Flags were back with a vengeance after the Aston Villa game. What did you make of the flag?
I was quite surprised to see it because they've been very under the radar and not posting much late and things like that. So I was quite surprised to see it. It's a very bold move. I'll give them that. It's getting the point across. If nobody's going to listen to her, I suppose, because nobody else is taking any notice of her. I think it really highlights the problem. Like, if they can see it physically like that and it's getting spoken about a lot more in the media and things like that, the Chronicle were talking about it, they brought it forward to Steve Bruce and he said he was disappointed to see it. Well, disappointed, like, what's that to it? Like, again, I feel like he was trying to brush it off, but it's getting in the face of it a bit more and really pushing the issue of what we're trying to sort. And it wasn't just one, I think there was about 3 in the end. So it just shows what lengths we have to go to actually get a point across.
Yeah, the flags again, Kendall, they're great ideas, and when they put them up, the Premier League corruption one was fantastic. Really hit home. This one was just more simple and effective. Aimed at Mike Ashley, aimed at Steve Bruce. Simple but effective. Kendall.
Sorry, my stream has been really slow for some reason.
No worries.
Yeah, it was something, do you know what I mean? Like, it was something that we can't do right now, which is protest, voice our concerns apart from on social media. So it was something, I really rate them for doing that. It all comes off their own back and they get the design sorted and it's all done very swiftly. And it's just shown that, this is wider than what he thinks. It's wider than social media. All the fans are on board with it. I've seen so much positivity around the flag and the protest and stuff to do with the flag. So yeah, I'm all for it. And as Steve Bruce said, he's so disappointed to see it. But if you're so disappointed, fix it. Try. Just do something. Just, if you don't want to be disappointed and you don't want people to make these flags about you and say these things about you, stop making it worse for yourself in press conferences. Stop saying things against the fans that make them not like you and that make them even hate even more, just regardless of the football that you're playing. Stop doing that. Fix it. Listen to what the fans are saying and want and think that you should do, because clearly they have more clue than you and we're in more unity than you are against your tactics. And yeah, just try and take this on board and use it for a positive change in the club and the way that you play and the way that you manage.
Yeah, fair enough. Sav, what's your take on the flags that we saw up at the ground?
Yeah, I think, with the fans being out of stadiums at the moment, it's like one of the very few ways we can get our points across. And, not that they're listened to, but I think it does send out a message. And, Steve Bruce saying that he's disappointed, I agree with Kendall. If you're disappointed, then why are you still sending out the same old tactics? It's that, it's all still going wrong. And what frustrates me is that with his substitution, sometimes he could make them a lot earlier than what he does, and he doesn't. And the fact that they put flags around the stadium, like you said, the Premier League corruption one was brilliant. And I think, to do that all off their own backs is, amazing, because that is a message that so many fans want to send out at the moment, because we're not allowed to the stadium, but we can't. And that is actually really frustrating. So, yeah, I think it's only a positive from a fan's point of view, probably not from Steve Bruce's point of view. But, yeah, it's just getting our voices out there.
Yeah, fair enough. Candle's disappeared. She's having a few internet issues tonight, I think. So, Alicia, what did you make of the SM back in the team? Obviously came on as a substitute. It was probably the one bright spot, I thought, out of a horrendous performance at Villa Park.
Yeah, as soon as he came on, we just seemed to push up for those last 15 minutes. It was really strange. If we put that effort in for the rest of the game, we might have actually got something. Almiron, I feel, is a lot more comfortable when he plays. When he's not alongside Saint-Maximin, I feel like he's held back. I feel like he's concentrating on what's going on behind him, of him knowing that he's got to track back. Whereas if he's got Alan alongside and there's kind of two of them, it takes the pressure off him. But the bright spot, he was the only bright spot, and thank God he's back in the team, because have we missed him? And again, we're relying on one player. It seems to be the running thing for Newcastle. We rely on one player, and the whole team as a whole is not good enough, and we rely on this one star player, and when it's not going good and he's not in the team, we're knackered. But again, I'm hearing he won't start the game, so yet again, he'll probably bring him on in the 70th minute, because he doesn't make a substitution till before then. And then we'll have a bright 10 minutes when we're probably about 3-0 down.
Okay, Sam, what's your take on ASM? I mean, I was pleased to see him back. He's essentially, he is a talisman in these bleak times. He's somebody who can change a game. And David Janola's birthday today, another player who could do exactly that, Sav. Who could change a game and get fans out of their seat when you're allowed in the stadium. So it was good to have him back, I suppose, and after his health problems.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was great to see him back. But do you know what made me laugh was just before he sort of disappeared away from the squad, we were all sat on here going, "Oh yeah, I'd bench him for the next game. I'd bench him. He's not been very good." And it's amazing how we've been through this drought of exciting play, and now all of a sudden we're like, "Oh, come back now. We want you playing 90 minutes straight away." I just think it's got to that sort of low ebb where you quickly forget, that was going on. But I think it's great that he's back. It's a shame, that he was out so long on COVID. How sod's law is it that our most exciting player was the one that was probably hit the worst by COVID out of everyone? It is good to see him. Definitely good to see him back. And I agree with what Alicia said about Almiron. I find that when St. Max isn't on the pitch, he will, he's everywhere. He's running around. He's mostly defending. But, there is a change in him when ASM is on, because they do play a little bit more forward. So hopefully, that will be to come. You never know. We might get some excitement.
Yeah. A lot of people saying Maximin and Ginola are not in the same sport, let alone the same league, says Paul Patterson. I wasn't comparing the two for technical ability. I was comparing the two for excitement levels. And believe you me, he's the one player who does give us a little bit of excitement in that team. You can't deny that. But as far as comparisons between him and Ginola are concerned, no. David Ginola is streets ahead. And I've got to agree with everybody, including you, Tim. I think ASM, Kendall, it was just nice to see him back on the pitch.
Yeah, it was just nice to see him back, and give a little bit of hope that we might have some creativity somewhere. Even like 5 minutes of positive creativity would just be amazing at this point, because we have none whatsoever. Lovely to see him back. Lovely to see him that he's recovered. Really sorry if you can hear Amir singing in the background. She's singing "Let It Go" from Frozen.
Bless her.
Just thought I'd put that out there in case someone thinks it's, catching in my bedroom. But no, it was nice to see him back, and I've seen a few comments tonight about the comment that Dwight Gale threw out earlier in one of the videos that they posted, where he's like, "Oh, the safety is back," and about Saint-Maximin. But Saint-Maximin retweeted it, so I don't think there was any malice behind it or anything like that. But you never know. It's just nice to have someone back that you can rely on for excitement, not a boring game. He sometimes does dribble too much and sometimes loses the ball on the edge of the box, but I don't care. We need the box. We need their box, which is amazing. Like, that's phenomenal. We're never ever anywhere close to it at this point. So yeah, really nice seeing him back. Hope he's not rushed. Hope that his recovery is handled correctly, smoothly, so that he doesn't get any further extensive injuries like we have done in the past. And have, made the mistake, well, we haven't, but Steve Bruce and his staff have made the mistake in the past of bringing him back too early and extending his injury. So I know this injury is different, So that's why I want to be handled properly and not rushing back. Because as we say, Lascelles looked like he couldn't even catch a breath the other night. So I don't want that to be him, and I don't want it to be, detrimental to him and to us as a team. So.
Yeah, lots of rumours flying around. Mark Henderson's put another one up. There's talk of Bournemouth and Newcastle talking over the sale of Matt Ritchie. Surely not, he says. Been something that we've been linked with many, many times, and get the impression he would run back to Bournemouth at this present time, because he's certainly not getting much of a look in with Steve Bruce's Newcastle, and that would be a big mistake for me, definitely. Alicia, let's talk about Dubravka and Darlow. We've had this conversation many times on the show. Darlow has done really, really well in covering for Dubravka. Steve Bruce made the decision to leave him in and keep him in. Few people I saw on Twitter at the weekend saying, maybe it was time to put Dubravka back in and drop Darlow now. What's your views on that?
It's a difficult one. It's such a difficult one, because going into it when Dubravka first got injured, we were thinking, oh God, what's going to happen here? He was saving us in game. And Darlow, fair play to him, full credit to him, stepped up to the plate when we really needed him. Even down to the Man United game, he couldn't even stand, and he was still trying to save goals, even though we conceded a few. He was still trying, and you can see the effort in him. But the past few games, his distribution's been a bit all over, to be honest. Is it tiredness? Is it too many games? Because previous to this, he had played barely any. We don't exactly get a cup run from him to play in. Previous to that, could it be a bit of fatigue starting to come in for him? Of course, you would like to see Dubravka getting a game in there. We haven't got the FA Cup to use him in there now, but you don't want to start switching it too much. That's the balance you've got to get right. I do think it would be harsh to take him out straight away. I would give him a few more games to see if it's just a little bit of a blip and see if he can come back stronger.
Kendall, Dubravka or Darlow? Seems to be a lot of support for Dubravka coming back in.
A few weeks ago, I would have said Darlow all the way. Didn't think it deserved to be dropped. Right now, I think we need Dubravka back in. We need his command and presence. We need him to organise the back line further, because Lascelles isn't doing it right now. No one else is stepping up to the plate. If Lascelles not there, Shelby's not doing it. It's just not good enough. And he does offer a lot more than Darlow in terms of, as I say, his command and presence and shouting instructions from the goal line and organising the team better. So I think we could really, really do with that right now, and do with the energy and the morale boost to have someone like that in the team, just to help us along a little bit. And plus, he's our number one. It's about time he got let back in. Don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising Darlow whatsoever. He has been absolutely vital, phenomenal for us since Dubravka's injury. He has been absolutely unbelievable, and I will not criticise him, and I'll have no bad words said against him. But I do think now we really need a character like Dubravka in the team, just to lift us, boost us, help us out in terms of organisation, because clearly they have. Okay, I'll sort it out in a second. And clearly we have no organisation elsewhere, and the players don't know what they're doing. Two of them going for the same ball at the same time and running around like headless chickens is just not working. So I think players like Lewis, for example, could really, take a lot of guidance from a player like Dubravka, who can direct him and help him out a little bit, especially when defensively his awareness isn't huge right now. He could really, really do with that support behind him. So yeah, I think now's probably the time for Dubravka to get back in.
Sav, same question to you. Dubravka or Darlow? Is it time to bring our original number one back?
Yeah, do you know what I've noticed is since Dubravka's been back on the bench, is that is when Darlow seems to have slightly, not massively, but ever so slightly gone off the boil and is making little mistakes. And I just kind of wonder if the fact that he is sat over there and he the stress is on, he knows that he makes too many mistakes, and then Dubravka's coming back in and he's done so well prior to that. I just sort of wonder if that's kind of what the cause of what's been going on. I would personally have Dubravka back. I agree. There's absolutely zero leadership on that pitch. The sales, I don't know why he's got the captain's armband. Matt Ritchie's not getting a look in. And they're all running around not knowing what they're doing. I think that, a voice from the back would do us the world of good at the moment. So, yeah, for that reason, I'd have Dubravka back. Darlow's done an amazing job, though. And if it wasn't for him, we'd be in a lot worse situation than what we currently are. And it's just that, as said before, we are just blessed with two really good goalkeepers.
Yeah, we are. Barry Hogan says, what did the girls think of Bruce's admission that he'd injured Dummett by leaving him on the pitch too long? Wow, he's never done that before. What did he make of that, Alicia?
I don't think it was even leaving him on the pitch too long. He played him for 3 consecutive games when he'd just come back from injury, one which went extra time. I don't know what he was thinking then. It's just caused me yet again more problems. If he's admitted it, I'm very surprised by that, because I'm surprised it's not our fault. But what on earth was he thinking? Yeah, Dummett's not one of our strongest players because of the injuries he's had. He has become very injury prone over the years, but that's basic man management of knowing what to do with your players when they come back from injury, and it's what's knocked Alan Saint-Maximin over before, so I hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, okay. Dummett, we're talking about now, Kendall, and just Steve Bruce's admission that, by leaving him on the pitch, he's the one who's injured him.
Well, is that a surprise to anyone, seeing as we've had that several times in his reign, where he's, as I've just mentioned before about Saint-Maximin, did exactly the same to him, was only meant to be out a couple of weeks, came back, ended up being out for 6 because he rushed him back. And that was partly Saint-Maximin's fault for saying he was fit, and obviously partly Bruce and his medical staff's fault for classing him as fit. He's done it several times and at Hayden before. It really does not surprise me. Like, Paul Dummett's been out for months, came back, played 3 games on the bounce. Like, it's just, surely that's just common sense not to do that, especially when he has just come back from like a long-term injury. I really just can't even understand it, to be honest. But at this point, does it surprise anyone, honestly, that he does that? He's got track record of doing it. So it really is not surprising. If I was a player, why would you want to play under a manager that allows you to go and not be fit and still continue to play? It just seems really, really strange to me. Like, even as we mentioned before about Cal Darlow, when he got injured and he didn't even take him off, like, it was literally limping in the goal and didn't even take him off. Like, that's crazy man management, especially when he's the one who wants to be their mate and wants to be looked at as the fair one and give people a turn. Like, it's all very strange, and he hasn't learned, still won't learn. He'll do it again in the future probably, and hopefully not at us much longer, but as we all say, he's probably going to be at the end of the season now, so we'll
wait and see. Yeah, Sav, Dummett. I mean, it is rare to hear Steve Bruce admit he got something wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's a pattern which we've followed with other players, as Kendall says.
Yeah, I reckon his scriptwriter took the day off for that one. But yeah, I think it is like Kendall and Alicia have said with Darlow. That was awful. That was like 15 minutes. We had a goalkeeper with one leg, and I think he put Almer on, didn't he, or something. He did make a change, but it wasn't obviously to help Darlow out. It's just mad. And then he acts like, I've played him too much and I've injured him. Dummett's a really injury-prone player. Like, he's injured more than he's fit. So you'd have to be really careful with a player like that in bringing them back. And obviously, he's buggered this one up as well. I don't understand. At this level, he goes on about how great the Premier League is. At the Premier League level, how you can keep consistently making mistakes like that. He should be aware of how much he's playing his players, how often they're injured. If they have got a little niggle, shoving them on for 90 minutes probably isn't recommended. He just doesn't seem to have that sort of, brain power to connect them for one, Liam Kennedy's thing, connect the dots and make sure that, he is keeping the players fit. We've had so many injuries, it's just mad.
Yeah, absolutely mental. Really, really is. And we didn't have half as many with Rafa. Alicia, another question that's getting asked in the chat is, does Steve Bruce know his best 11, do you think?
No, clearly not, because I sit there and I think sometimes I can make better managerial changes than what he's making. It chops and changes. I don't think he knows his best creative team in terms of, we're playing Wilson on his own, we're playing Carolyn Wilson, we're playing Gail in there, Murphy, he's in the team, he's out the team. I don't know what he's doing. He does not know his best 11. One week we're playing 3 at the back with Hayden at centre back, who's a centre midfielder. I honestly do not think he knows in the slightest what his best 11 is.
Okay, Kendall, what about you? Do you think Bruce knows his best 11?
Absolutely not. Did I see something really, like, this might be the wrong number, but I'm sure I've seen something a couple of weeks ago, it might have even been on the show, where someone said he played, it was either like 38 players or like a combination, 38 combinations of different players, like in different, it's just bizarre. That number might be wrong, but I did see it somewhere where he played a completely massive amount of like different formations and different teams. Like, surely at this point, you allow nearly 20 months into a job, surely at this point you know what your strongest team is. And if you don't know your strongest team, you know your team that can attack certain other teams' formations. But he doesn't. If we win a game, he just uses the exact same team, no matter who you play next. Like, I was on a couple of Leeds fan channels yesterday, and they said the best thing for us to do would be to play like a 3-4-3. But we'll never do that, because Steve Bruce will just think, oh, well, I was encouraged by what I saw at Aston Villa, so, let's just go with the exact same thing that we did, because that's all he does. He just makes excuses prior to the next match so that he doesn't have to change anything. And it's like, defeated already. He just doesn't have an absolute clue on who to choose, how to manage. He spent 100 million on players, and half the man even like playing sometimes. Like Joe Linton, spent 40 million on Joe Linton, and he's not playing. You've brought Fraser in, albeit on a free, but he barely plays. You're playing Jeff Hendrick as a winger. It's like he just really doesn't know what the strongest starting 11 is, if you will, and he doesn't know how to change it to match other teams and try and outplay them. He just doesn't have the sense to do it. Or I don't even think, really, as he said himself, he's bang average. I don't think he has the capability to do like a tactical change at all, really. So it's just stressful. It's horrible to watch. As Alicia said, I really do think that half of our fan base have more knowledge in terms of how to set a team up than him. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he doesn't know his strongest 11 at all.
Phil Davison says it's 38 players used in 60 plus games. It's something
I thought 38 was the number, but I
think I mentioned it last Friday on the Three Amigos. I think it was me who came up with that stat. I mean, that's frightening, Sav, really. I think that maybe that stat answers the question for you.
Yeah, it's mad. There's no consistency to his decisions in a squad, and it's like, I think I read something somewhere else as well where he'd have 7 different combinations in midfield, in centre midfield. How can you not know, as manager who watches those players in training, who watches them, who stands on the sideline at the matches, who your strongest 11 are? He's been in that job for 18 months now. He's had money to spend in the squad, something that Rafa didn't. He's had complete control, and he's still, sometimes he'll put out a lineup and I'll think, what the hell is this? And you'll think, even, as a fan, that's not going to work. I mean, the false 10 idea, I didn't even know what a false 10 was up until that. I learned something new that day, but what was he thinking that, playing that sort of football when we can't even play normal football, going beyond, outside of the box on that idea. It's absolutely boggling. I have no words for him anymore. He just makes me really angry, and I just turn into Katie sitting here blaring out swear words. So, I don't get it. I don't get how he's still, how he's still manager. It just boggles me.
Yeah, I mean, he came up with this wonderful stat on at the end of the game. He talking about playing Ryan Fraser together, Ryan and Alan Saint-Maximin together. And I picked up on a tweet here from Ryan Davison. This was Bruce's quote. He says, "I've never been able to play Ryan and Alan together." So then, Ryan Davison 11 on Twitter went and had a look at the stats, and he has in 37% of our games and chose to in just one, which was Wolves away. In 3 games, he actually subbed Fraser on for ASM, Brighton at home, Burnley at home and Everton at home. And then in 2 games, Fraser was an unused sub, West Ham and Man United. It beggars belief. He just says the first thing that comes into his head, doesn't he, Alicia? He doesn't actually put his brain into gear before he speaks.
He doesn't have a filter. He just says like the first thing that comes into his head. And to be fair, I think he uses that with his team selections as well. But half the things he says, he's saying things that statistically on paper you can see you've had the opportunity to do that, and then we get the blame for everything else. So he just says the first thing that comes into his head, that kind of, I don't know, it's like a weird kind of ego boost way that he has to be in the right, and everything has to be like kind of woe's me, and I've never had the chance to do this, and it's great to say, but you just chose not to.
Yeah, it's a strange situation, that, Kendall, isn't it? When somebody just says the first thing that comes into their head, especially when they're a Premier League manager and they're in the media spotlight.
He just says whatever it is to suit his narrative, that he's the victim and that we're the ones expecting too much and that he can't do the things that we're expecting of him. Like, that's what he does. He twists something to suit his narrative, that he's the one that's trying and that we're the one expecting too much and that we're delusional, thinking that he can do these things, when actually, in reality, he can do these things. He chooses not to because he's inept and doesn't have a clue on how to manage certain players or a certain formation of a team. Just doesn't know that. And as Alicia said, he always wants to be the victim, and he always wants to look like, we as fans and the noise expect too much of him that he cannot commit to, which is untrue. He said so many things in the past. He said, I think it was last week, Newcastle haven't finished top half of the table since for 15 years or something like that. And someone was like, well, actually, that's untrue. Again, finished, 10th twice, 8th once, 5th once. So he just lies to suit his own story and his own narrative. It's actually embarrassing at this point. Just, if you don't really know that that's not true, just leave it. Do not make it worse for yourself, which is exactly what he's doing. Week in, week out, I'm expecting him to say something wilder the next week. Honestly, at one point, I'm just expecting him to do a absolute mental breakdown, just start screaming and ranting and raging at everyone. Because I would not even put it past him now, the way he's behaving at this point.
Yeah, Sav, it's just strange listening to him. I think that's one of the things that gets on Newcastle's fans' wicks the most, just listening to the rubbish that he comes out with.
I know, and it was like, he used to say, the work in progress thing. Everyone always says it. But I've noticed lately he's dropped that, and now he's like, oh, well, it's Newcastle. We're supposed to be in the bottom half of the table. And it's like, hold on a minute, where's your work in progress? Because if you started, in the middle of the bottom half of the table, surely you've got to be, after 18 months, taking that forward and not still sat there. But he's dropped that little bit now so that, he's not throwing that in, so that can't be used against him. He, as Kendall was saying, he'll say anything that will fit his narrative, no matter how ridiculous it sounds or how untrue it is. It's like gaslighting. He'll say something to make himself look better, and to make us out to be delusional fans who are just picking on him because we want to win the league, and that he makes out that we're saying, and it's not like that. I mean, his press conferences make me actually angry, because half the time he says the same old crap. We'll dust ourselves off, we're going to go out there, we're going to roll our sleeves up, we're going to try our best every single match. But then he'll go, but, our opposition are really great. No matter who they are, they could be a Sunday league team, and he'd be like, we're going to try our best today. It is just every single bloody week. It drives me insane. And then, when he's pushed into a corner, he'll just lash out. He'd be like, oh, no, that's the fans' fault. That's that bunch of keyboard warriors all picking on me. That's why I don't go on Twitter. I don't even go on. And he's just like, for God's sake, just change the record. Try something new. Try not to have everyone hate you. Don't lash out. But I don't think he'll ever change, sadly. I think he's just going to remain the same until, he sails off into the sunset one day.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Tomorrow night sees Newcastle take on Leeds at home. 6:00 start, live on BT Sport. Team news at the moment: Fernandez, Dummett and Kieran Clark miss out due to injury, while DeAndre Yedlin is reportedly unavailable, unbelievably due to paperwork issues. Manquillo is rated 50-50. Saturday, of course, we saw ASM back. Ryan Fraser, Dwight Gale and Manquillo all return to action. Hopefully there'll be no ill effects to ASM, and he will be firing on all cylinders and maybe get a little bit more tomorrow. Leeds United's goalkeeper has returned to training. That's Meslier. He's missed the last 2 games. Robin Koch, Gaetano Berardi and Diego Llorente won't feature. This will be the first game for Leeds United since their 1-0 home defeat by Brighton on the 16th of January, which is a third successive loss without scoring in all competitions. Referee tomorrow is Anthony Taylor. Finish off, girls, just by getting your predictions. Alicia?
My head says we're going to get beat, but my heart wants to say we'll go with 1-1 draw. I do want to say, but I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds, okay. Kendall?
3-1 Leeds was my prediction all over the weekend, so I'll stick with that.
Okay, and Sav, your prediction?
Well, if I had any hope in us scoring a goal, I'd say that we've managed to bang one in. But looking at us lately, just scoring a goal seems like a miracle. So I'm going to go 3-0 Leeds.
3-0 Leeds. Kendall, give us a quick promotion for your channel, please. We'll give Alicia the opportunity at the start of the show, so where can people find your content?
Yeah, just Kendall Rowan. If you just type me in on YouTube, it'll come straight up. So there's a lot of Kendall Rowans out there. So yeah, find me on there, and I am if I can speak, I am uploading more consistently on there now. So
there's only one Kendall Rowan. There's no other Kendall Rowans. Alicia, Kendall. Great to see you both doing well with your channels, and there's a lot of people in the chat says Sav needs to start her own channel, so there you go, Sav. There's something.
I am starting one, but it's like that thing. I just want to get it right. I don't want to come in there and everyone be like, "Well, that was crap." It's just that side of things. So I'm just sort of, it's in my brain to do. There's not many brain cells in there, but it is in the working. It's going to happen.
Good stuff. Well, good luck with it, girls. Great to have you on, and I'll see you next week. Have a good week. Take care. Bye.
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 Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again.